Hello folks, Horace Lever here again after a long break, talking today about homicides. In Jamaica they've been much in the news recently, especially those called fatalities. Those are the killings by police occurring in larger numbers than usual. And there are the others, of course, the murders, so-called by civilians, significantly fewer in number. So, 50 fatalities in 50 days by the police have drawn three very different responses. Human rights activists, of course, are suspicious of that number, but without evidence, refrain from saying how many fatalities, if any, were extrajudicial. They are vehement, however, in declaring the number excessive, implicitly, at least, finding fault with the police. A second reaction, common in the public, is tolerance of the number killed, because at the same time, the murder rate, thanks chiefly to better policing, has dropped by 19% over last year. In between these two positions, as it were, there is Commissioner of Police Kevin Blake saying that he strongly agrees, those are his words, strongly agrees that the number is excessive. But he is careful not to find fault with his men for not wearing their body cameras. The cameras at the INDECOM, the independent supervisory body, has repeatedly called for. What he notes, however, is that 60% of what the INDECOM needs for an investigation they already have in their hands. Blame for the 50 deaths, he argues, must be placed on the criminals, the thugs themselves, for daring to confront men with superior training and firepower. Criminals who have not issued such a challenge have lived to see another day, he points out. Police in self-defense, when circumstance requires it, can exercise lethal violence. However, the fact is that the cameras worn by police that would build out the 40% of the investigative tools that INDECOM lacks can dissuade from the excessive lethal force not demanded by circumstance. They would enable INDECOM to identify instances of truly unnecessary use of force. In its value and care for human life, police violence would thus differ from the aggressive and purposefully deadly violence of a criminal enterprise. Violence avoidance, in other words, would be as much a goal for police as success in disabling the culprits. 50 killings in 50 days requires more from Commissioner Blake than an admission of excess. He must justify the number of killings. His justifying explanation, however, so far, is that criminals are to be blamed for stupidity, and INDECOM is exonerated because it already has 60% it needs for an investigation. That's all that needs to be said in his view. Commissioner Blake is clearly not as repulsed by the violence as many others are, and as he ought to be. That's all for today, folks. Let me know what your reaction is.